Hi, this is Julia Baker-Waite, and I am at Julia Baker-Waite Art Studio, and this is Art is Worship, and we're doing a little mini uh, today, and it's going to be on the rock pathway that we were doing last week, but it's a little closer up, a little more in depth. So allow me to rearrange my camera. I'll be back.
Julia, there's no sound.
Okay, sorry about that. All right, so what I did was I added just a little bit of green on the sides here and on the other side to kind of frame where that road is going. And then I also put a very light tint of green on these rocks, just on one side. And then, of course, you can block that or let it air dry, whichever you like. And then I'm coming in here with a little bit of the grayish color, the grayish brown, because you want that to suggest that there's like, dirt in there. Let me see if I got some brown. My brown is turning green. What you doing to me? And as you do this, just kind of start with a lighter color, and if you need to add, because it's harder to take away than it is to put down. All right, great. Now I'm going to blot this again, just so I can show you what we're doing here. Normally, this next step, you would have this completely dry, so you would need to wait probably an hour, or you can use your hair dryer to dry it out quicker. Get up, get some coffee, go watch a half-hour show, pick up your Bible and read something in between, and just kind of be patient with yourself and be patient with this process. All right. So let's see here. That's pretty good. Okay. So now we're going to give these cobblestones a little bit of depth, because cobblestone roads, particularly when they're like in the country and say it was, old, hand done, there's no cement in between it or anything like that. So they're going to be different sizes. They're going to be different depths. And it's going to be rough going over it with your, wagon, right? So we got to give it a little bit of depth. So I'm going to grab some of that brown if I can here. That brown does not want to work for me. Let's see. Oh, that's more green. All right. Well, let me take this gray then. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm deciding where the light is. Now you can you can figure out, okay, well, what side would the moss grow on? Yada, yada, yada. But because we are artists and we can do what we want, okay, we're just going to do that. We are going to come in and we're going to make some shadows. So I'm going to have my shadows along this side. Okay. And then I'm coming back in and just tapping it off. And I want you to note how doing that just with a paper towel has given it texture. So you know that that rock is more rough. Okay. Just from tapping it with a paper towel. I'm going to come across here. And I'm going to do the same thing. Tap, wipe, whatever you feel like doing. And if you've got too dark an edge, just go back in with a clean brush and soften it out some. Now, some of those edges you're going to want to keep, and some you're going to decide against. So again, I'm coming in with this pinkish one right here. I'm going to do the same thing. We'll put it on the top. and around this side, kind of underneath. And maybe right there as well. Okay, I'm going to clean my brush. Okay. Okay, now, if that's the darker side on your right side, and your light's actually coming from over here or here, kind of got to figure that out. So, do I want it coming from here, like say the sun's setting maybe, coming over this way? That sounds pretty good. So the sun will be coming from here and casting shadows, like right where my hand is. You see how my hand casts a shadow over here because the light source is over here. So we're going to keep that in mind when we're doing our rocks. And I think I'm going to take some blue and that gray that I've got, make a little bit of Payne's gray, which is like a blue and a gray together. And I'm going to come back under here, under this rock. I think I'm going to make it a little darker. Do I want to go blue or do I want to go, let's see. Well, I guess I'm going to make my own green here or my own brown. Let's see. We got some green and I'll pick some red or orange. Orange will go good. Green and orange, kind of mix that together. And a little bit more green, maybe a darker green. That's pretty good as far as it's kind of a greenish brown. Take some red. Put that in there. Okay. So I made my own brown, and I'm going to definitely come in again. And we're darkening the part that's away from the light. So the light's coming down here. So we got to darken that part of it under here. Now you can also take your brush, say like this is a flat brush. Not too big. It's not too big. That's my thumbnail or my finger. And then kind of just dry it out super good and push it around a little bit. Not too much. You don't want to hurt it too much, but you want this to kind of separate a little bit here because we're going to get a pattern from that as well. So, I think we'll go back into that dark gray. And I'll come in here and just kind of tap it on there. So it's mostly dry. And then I'm just going to come in here. And I don't want them all to be rough. Maybe this one. Maybe a little bit rough there. And you can test that out, that how it's going to make a pattern, what the pattern looks like on a different piece of paper. It's like, always save your scraps. Always save your scraps, okay? Okay, now you see how this has some texture? This one has texture. A little bit here and there. And the other thing that you can do, particularly the ones that are closer to you, because you don't want to get too much detail in things that are fading off into the back. But see if this one. I have a couple Prismacolors here. One's, well, no, one's a Derwent. Let's use Prismacolor. Is a Prismacolor as a not a watercolor, it's just a colored pencil. But you can actually come in and add like a little crack here and there. And you can just lightly go in here and there. Wherever the paint has really kind of suggested areas to you, that's what I like to do to make things a little bit more realistic. It's just kind of go with that flow of what that watercolor did. Maybe in here. Just deepening a few shadows. And then I'm definitely going underneath here. I'm going to deepen this shadow a bit. You see how that makes it pop right out? So all of a sudden, these are looking like they're thicker, like they might be even boulders. Get this, turn this on a little bit to see if you can get that any clearer here. I do like that blue. That's blue denanthrone is what it's called. Enanthrone blue. And that's a Prismacolor. But you don't have to go with like super expensive stuff right away. You really should be learning how to use what you have or things that are lower cost. There's nothing wrong with that as you're learning. If you all of a sudden get people who just like want to buy your stuff and everything's great. Okay, so if you want to invest more money in higher quality watercolors, higher quality colored pencils, higher quality whatever, you can do that. But you really have to have a basic feel of things before that's going to even matter. And if you do have something that someone wants and it's like just, dollar store watercolors, okay, that's fine. And that's not a problem. I use dollar store watercolors quite a bit. But you can get a spray. There it is. I'll pull it out for you. And this is the spray that I use anyway. It's UV resistant. It's clear. And this one happens to be matte. Sometimes I like to have the glossy, but the matte works well too. You got to use it in a well ventilated area, but it dries quickly. It's moisture resistant. It's non-yellowing permanent coating, and it protects against UV light, which can suck your color right out of your paints or anything you've got. So, and also, let everybody know, don't be putting this in the window where the sun comes in. Put it across, the room. Don't have it in direct light. If you want it, if you love it and you want it to stay, put it behind some archival glass even. There's only so much an artist can do. If they want to put that right where the sun shines, okay, then they just warn them. It's not gonna last as long. And I don't have any control of that, so that's you. Okay? Just gotta let them know so then they can make their own judgment call. So I think, oh man, I wish I had a better brown. Really, really, really wish I had a better brown. Looks like I got a brown, but nope. Now, if I take some of this, my little puddle here, and tap it out on a piece of cloth. Go back in. And the roughness of this paper towel is different than the other paper towel. So it can add some little pebbles and things in between or even on. Just make sure that it's not like completely soaked when you do that. Okay. See how it's getting a little rough there? Kind of grainy. Yeah. And that'll add to your painting as well. Now the other thing that I can do fairly quickly for you guys is okay. I'm going to take a little bit of some kind of orange here, maybe a darker orange, like a pumpkin orange. And I'm just going to kind of mix it in here, pull some of that gray green. And then blot it off. Water it down a bit. We just want a hint here and there. Let's see if this doesn't look more. That's not too bad. We'll take it a different orange here. Because I'm thinking terracotta, but I don't want it like super terracotta. Which other one would I do? Add a little bit of warmth in there. Now, if I was coming along here to do the sides of the road, I'd probably take something like this, which is a fan brush. And this one's pretty well worn, so I can't even tell you what size it is, but you can see, to my thumb or my hand. And I'm thinking I want some grass here and there. So what I'm going to do, So I'm going to pull in some green. And you're just going to kind of tap it because then it spreads out. You see how that spreads out? And then it's going to take some of that off because I don't want it too super dark. And I'm using the very tip of it on one side. I want to do some longer. And just kind of experiment with different ways of holding your brush. Might get a few in here because again, this is a, ooh, that's kind of dark, but that's okay. Some more off of there. And I'm going to dip it in lighter green. See if I can get that a little bit lighter. So just have a hint of this and that here and there. Mm. So you see how the path will go down and back. And then of course these will get shorter and to the point where they just kind of faded off. Make sure you wash your brushes very well. Dry them off as best you can. And don't be putting them in like this into your water or in your place where you're storing them. Don't do that. Smooth this out again. So it's nice. It's going to dry nice. And then either lay it flat or lay it so that any water will go down and out of the brush, not up like this and into the brush, because you're going to ruin your brushes that way. All right. All right. Thank you, Lord, for this little tutorial time, and I hope to see you again. We are going to continue with more class. Stay tuned.